The Germans are storming the gates. That's right, on America's birthday. Yes, on the sacred day of George Washington's birth, we are seeing the Germans dump Bitcoin, all of their national holdings here, which is something like 50,000 Bitcoin. They have 40,000 left. And that, my friends, is causing this horrific price action where we are actually dipping below this 4-month range. We're going to talk all about what this means here, but believe me when I say this is not what you want to see. If you're hoping short term to see Bitcoin, you know, go to the moon or something. So today we're going to talk about what's happening in the markets, because I've been extremely bullish on this particular range resolving to the upside. And as of today, seeing the range break here below 60,000s, the likelihood here is that actually I'm wrong. Now, of course, I'm going to be riding with my decisions. I told you guys many times I've not sold any coins despite being rolling in a lot of profits. And that's because I value so much doing this trading thing in lockstep with the content that I create. And that's why we have such an amazing community here, is because you guys know that I'm doing everything I can to deliver you guys the best outcome and actually riding in the boat with you, which pretty much no one else is. With some exceptions, there's some good content creators out there, but very few. Almost no one that I know actually puts themselves through as much pain and anguish to be riding in the boat with the community as I am. But all that is to say, who cares if I'm riding with you if I'm wrong? And so we're going to look at what could be happening here and the way I see this all shaking out right now. Because even though we're losing this range and it could lead to some serious downside short term, in the end, we are looking at the best macro setup for crypto that I have ever seen. And I stick by my guns that this is one of the biggest long-term opportunities that we will probably ever see in our lifetimes. Let's get into it. So on the bearish side, we have Andrew Kang here, and he's saying here that most market participants are not appreciating the significance of a potential 4-month range loss. You see a 4-month range that we had built up in early 2021, and that took the price from about 60K all the way down under 30, and he's sort of likening these two ranges right here. He's saying study May 2021, aka everyone was bullish calling for a breakout, and we ended up breaking down. Now, to be clear, you know, if he's likening these two, we did eventually make new highs right above those highs later in the year, so not total devastation. In fact, most altcoins peaked at the end of the year. But let's call it like we see it. Andrew Kang made a ton of wrong calls and he flip-flopped a ton. He said, hey, look, I've been bullish since last year, now I'm flipping bearish. That's not true. He's flip-flopped a lot. I've seen all kinds of different sentiments out of the Ru Kang account. That's not to say he's not a good trader. I'm sure he is. He's definitely made a lot of money. But the reality is that he's made a lot of wrong calls. So this is just one man's opinion. Remember that. Now, the one account that, of course, I take very seriously when it comes to price predictions is Crown. He's just been a man of the data and crushing it. Obviously, he's been wrong about this range resolving to the upside. So we can hope he's wrong here, but he's saying that effectively downside targets show that the worst case scenario here is 47,000. Now, 47,000 from where we're at is 10K below, but it is a big $10,000. And I believe that if Bitcoin is sneezing down to those levels, alts will probably get cancer and it will be a rough time. But that said, I also do believe that we're on the brink of the biggest bull run we've ever seen. And therefore, if we do play this out, which I sincerely hope we don't because it would be painful, but pain has never stopped me from continuing down this journey in crypto land. We take it on the chin, we accumulate more coins, and then we go to the moon later. And let's just go over really quickly on the other side of the coin why I am still really bullish that this year, not just this cycle, but 2024 ends up being supremely profitable for crypto traders. And specifically, if you have the cojones to buy the lows, wherever these lows do end up going. As Chris says, buying some, not selling, riding. Again, knowing that we could go lower, you don't want to empty out the tank right now. I thought that sub 60K price was the lowest we'd go. Maybe it is. We still haven't quite violated that 56K dip from a few months ago, but the direction of the market feels really heavy. So I'm just mentally ready. I have some new fiat that's just come in and I'm going to chuck it into my high conviction plays, which I'll talk about here at the end of the video whenever I do feel like, hey, we've put in a low here on this move. To be crystal clear, Fu is still bullish. Thank you, Fu. Now, one of the big leaders, Celestia, again, a favorite of this channel, which we covered at about $4.50, $4.50, went all the way up to 20 something dollars and then has just been down only. It's pretty funny. The negativity around this one is crazy because it was being hailed as the hottest thing since sliced bread. I know I certainly felt like the signal that this was one of the darlings of the bull run was there. It went up only and then now it's been down only. And we're comparing this here to the negativity around Sol at $2. If you remember that, that was late 2020. 2020, Sol was this hated coin. We talked about this in the last video. And that's because Sol went 10x on the public market before crashing down 80%, and then it went something like 250x from there. Again, the problem here is that before Bitcoin really takes off, we can see decimation in the alts. And it looked like this year that we were going to get a much more rapid explosion in Bitcoin due to the ETF. We have not seen it yet. However, I still believe it's coming. Let's talk about why altcoin buys, while they are absolutely dead in the water right now, may not be dead in the water in the future. Certainly, I don't believe they will be, or I wouldn't be holding such an astronomical amount of my net worth in these assets. Again, I might be wrong, but I'm doing exactly what I say I'm doing here on this channel. And again, I will continue to do this, especially at major pivot points in the market, whether we're breaking up, breaking down, at range highs, range lows. I'm trying to bring you content at major decision points so that it can be the most informative and impactful without doing daily updates when there's not really anything to cover day by day. Now, finally, timeline is silent. This is true. Unfortunately, crypto Twitter is quite the counter indicator. When everyone's excited, it's usually a bad time to be buying coins. And when everyone is quiet, it's usually a really good time to be buying coins if you buy the right ones. Now, the timeline being silent in this case is a bullish factor. It's showing that we've seen some degree of capitulation, that we've seen some degree of hammering to the crypto spirit. But let's just be real. The German government is unloading tens of thousands of Bitcoin on our heads at the range lows the day before a holiday. This is not really feeling like a sincere dump. It feels like a forced dump after Bitcoin has been so weak. It's like the governments are coming in to try to drive a hammer home. Now, personally, whenever I see government actions being the reason for a crypto dip, I always think that it's an opportunity because governments typically, banks typically don't like the rise of Bitcoin as it tends to subvert their power structure to a degree. Now, Bitcoin growing and being another asset that people can invest into, fine. Bitcoin explosively taking over as a new strategic reserve asset, a little bit concerning. Unless, of course, you have potentially a brand new strategy, a strategy that actually delves straight in and treats Bitcoin as the asset that it was designed to be, and you're the first major nation to do so. That's right, we are hearing for the first time that Trump is actually discussing Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. And this, again, I will have to say, has to be credited to Vivek Ramaswamy, who has been in the president's ear. And you saw as soon as Vivek bowed out of the race for the Republican nominee, he started buddying up with Trump. He never said a bad word about Trump. The entire election cycle, he was very precise to always be super positive because he knew Trump was going to get the nomination, and he was just creating a platform for himself by going through the campaign process. That said, since they've been chatting, Trump's understanding and sophistication and the topics he talks about with crypto have gotten deeper and deeper and deeper, and now he's talking about using Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. Can you imagine what would happen if the United States puts Bitcoin on its balance sheets? Could you imagine what would happen? The arms race, the forced arms race between every single country on earth, it would no longer be an option. If you have been a country that has not been acquiring Bitcoin, you have to start, or else you might effectively be left behind. That's the nature of parabolic momentum-based markets, is Bitcoin could fly up to a few $100,000, close to $1 million before your country starts accumulating and you get completely left out of the race for the new strategic reserve asset of the world. That is potentially the world that we're looking at under a new DJT administration. Now, what's crazy is there's been so many rumors. Is Biden going to stay in the election? Is he going to drop out? Who's going to be the nominee? Who's going to be the VP? Who's going to win the Euro Cup? Yeah, everyone wants to know who's going to win the Euro Cup. But all of these have just been rumor form. No one really knows what to believe or where the reality is. But we've seen incredible results coming out of the decentralized prediction markets. That's right, prediction markets like Polymarket have effectively become the platforms for anonymous insider leaks. For example, who will win the presidential election currently has $217 million bet. And you see here that Kamala Harris has flipped Joe Biden. And if you look at her surge, you can see that her surge has become a 15% vote. But if you look at the graph, it was down here at 1 cent, meaning 1% chance. And now it's flown up here to 16%. Whereas if you look at Joe Biden, he was up here as high as 45 cents just a few months ago, as high as 50 cents when this started. And now he's plummeted over the last few days. And so you can see as things change, behind closed doors and in Washington, D.C., you can see that these odds are changing dramatically. You can also go ahead and see, is Biden going to drop out? Go ahead and give this a refresh because it changes all the time. You can see here an absolute spike up the day after the debate from about 20 cents all the way up to, 40, 60% over the last few days. And every time a new rumor circulates from Washington, D.C., we see whether it's true or false, really based on these decentralized betting markets. They're a source of truth that's actually quite interesting to see how they're sifting through the political noise and all of the spin going on in the media. And you're actually getting true bets. You're getting real money flowing based on a certain outcome. So right now, $10 million has Biden saying 62% chance of him dropping out. We have who's going to be the Democratic nominee. Kamala Harris was at 1%, and now she's up to 32%. I mean, it hasn't been announced, but this has been skyrocketing. It still feels undervalued considering it seems far more likely than any other candidate. Anyway, all of this is to say that all of the things that Trump is saying about crypto hold a lot of weight, because the chances are that if he's elected, he'll be in a chance now to help bring these policies at least to the SEC and probably the Treasury Department. All of these are executive branch things that are really, really heavily controlled as far as their crypto concerned. So the sway of power back to Trump and the Republicans actually bodes incredibly well for crypto, but probably markets as well, because Trump has sworn to smash interest rates down to zero, which he may not unilaterally be able to do at first, but with his pressure and maybe even replacing Jerome Powell, he could make sure that outcome actually happens. And that would mean a massive flow of money from treasury markets, from money market funds and T-bills, which I believe is about $6 to $7 trillion into markets. It would be an absolute massive stimmy to markets. And here you see Putin even coming out and saying, hey, look, I'll talk to Donald. I won't talk to Biden, but I'll talk to Donald. You can see that Putin's ready to resume a dialogue with the United States under a new administration. Obviously, you could look at this however you want to look at this, but peace over in the Ukraine and Europe is a significant step forward and would be way better if the United States could start spending more money on its local economy versus stimulating wars overseas. Not that it needed to be even said now at this point, but election data from Open Labs is showing that, Trump is winning here a significant portion, 358 electoral college votes, which is way more than the 270 needed to win. Meanwhile, we also see NASDAQ actually hitting all-time highs. It's historically been a trend that when mainstream markets hit all-time highs, Bitcoin will follow shortly after. So as you can see here, the S&P is just absolutely ripping and Bitcoin's been falling. Where they normally move somewhat in tandem, this has been a big divergence. And I believe that divergence will be closed with Bitcoin catching up to new all-time highs like the S&P has done. Now, before we go any further, I have a quick update before I get into all the altcoins. As you know, the only altcoin that I really stand by is, of course, Superverse. And that's because I've been pouring blood, sweat, and tears into this project for many years. And I have absolutely no desire and no will to stop. I absolutely love captaining this project. And I'm very excited to say that Superverse is actually opening up a Discord. Now, whenever you do something like this, it opens up an attack vector for scammers. So be very careful to navigate only to the official Superverse Discord, not some fake imitation, but it is open and live right now. And we are actually giving away tens of thousands of dollars in super token, in NFTs, both for imposters as well as EllioTrades NFTs. That's right, the ones from way back in the day that have utility for governance within the Superverse world. Like I said, all of it is coming together. Come join in the fun. We're literally going to be saving GameFi. GameFi needs a hero. It needs its George Washington. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm the George Washington of GameFi. And the Bears are the British. And I think someone's the French. And anyone who doesn't hold super is Benedict Arnold. Pretty much anyone who doesn't hold super is Benedict Arnold. And he's the worst thing you could be. Anyway, the bullshit doesn't stop. Sony launching a crypto exchange. Dell Computers going to start micro-strategizing their bank balance, putting their bank balance sheet into Bitcoin. Public companies buying Bitcoin. Trump embassies crypto. State pension buying Bitcoin. Every bank buying Bitcoin. BlackRock buying Bitcoin in every single fund. And then you have the Bitcoin Ether ETF mix-up. Again, the charts for ETH look like this right before the ETF, and everyone is bearish. Honestly, it feels like a gift. It's a really difficult gift to accept because it feels so painful because we're all down on our alts. But the market does seem to me to have a huge divergence between the catalyst and tailwinds and the price right now. The price is super weak, whereas all of the underlyings are getting stronger and stronger. Again, I can't predict exactly where price is going to go, but I can tell you that this feels like a massive opportunity wherever these lows end up getting printed. Just to make sure you have the right link, of course, for the Discord, discord.gg/ t.me/Superverse chat. This is the only real Discord. Do not click on any fake Discord links on Twitter as a reply, something that looks like me but ain't me. If it even is me and I say something other than discord.gj says Superverse chat, maybe my account has been hacked, so be freaking careful. This is the only real Discord. Everything else is an absolute scam. All right, so what am I buying at the lows? Where am I going to be injecting my precious fiat, my oh so precious fiat coins are going absolutely back into this crypto market because I believe so strongly in what's coming next. I cannot stop myself. If in 2026 nothing good has happened, this market hasn't resolved to the upside, and the 4-year cycle is a lie, maybe we can reevaluate there. But for now, we stick to the plan. And here's what the plan looks like for me. First of all, you have total economic value, which is fees plus MEV in June. Now, you can dispute whether or not you think this is a good actual arbiter of value, but in this case, Solana is very close to Ethereum, right? Solana is $91 million, and at all-time high, Ethereum is at $160 million and 90% below all-time high. Just for easy math, say Solana is half of Ethereum, even though it's more like 60 something percent. All right, this is like 56%. I used a calculator. Don't worry, I can't do that in my head. But 91 million over 160 million, 56%. But it's really trading here at below 20%, 25% here. You know, this is one of the biggest Solana investors, but he thinks there's a mispricing in the market and Solana should be 2x or so, maybe 3x bigger. Again, let's talk about the blue chips, because when the markets go absolutely nuclear like this, you want to get into the highest quality assets at the lowest price. You can wait till the market is super risk on to get into the degen stuff. That's fine. You don't need to gamble to get your gains when the market resets like this. You want to get into the high quality stuff that was too expensive, had moved too fast for you at the beginning of the market phase. And that way, you know, when the market bounces, you're going to be in some stuff that's going to be bouncy and beautiful. Okay. Now, the blue chip portfolio, in my opinion, is Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, and of course, Coinbase global stock. That's right. What's crazy is Coinbase usually acts like a little bit of a whisperer. It kind of front runs Bitcoin's price action. You can see here that it's still just consolidating in this range between essentially like 280 and 200 and 300 bucks, right? It's got this big range it's formed, and it's still doing really well, which shows that the risk climate for crypto stocks is still there, and that crypto, you know, the native crypto coins and Bitcoin itself has just been much weaker than the actual sort of front running for this entire industry on the markets. Something to consider, and something else that makes me structurally more bullish. But again, coin, Bitcoin, ETH, Solana. That's the 4 horsemen of this particular cycle, the safest bucket to actually enjoy the cycle from, in my opinion, and that's the blue chip category. Just ship it there. I did add a little bit of Robinhood, but again, I still have much more conviction in Coinbase because of all of their tentacles in crypto. Now, I'm just going to keep it real with you. I'm a big fan of gaming, as you know. Until all these projects heat up, until everything starts moving, you know, the big 3 of Superverse, Immutable, and Beam, I think these 3, the charts are almost identical if you zoom out and look at them. Those are the projects that I most believe in. Again, I can't talk about price when it comes to Superverse, but I can tell you that the excitement around the project will not cease. It will only continue. And I highly encourage you, if you want to join a durable community that's going to bring the light in the darkness throughout this summer, no matter how long it lasts, as well as bring the excitement and fun in the good times, join Superverse now. Come join it. We're going to have an amazing community that keeps the vibes going throughout this entire period. And I believe that's how you end up winning. Full stop. Amazing community. No big VC unlocks, no token overhangs, no BS. It's a mature asset, okay? Not like a lot of the new tech that has so many new coins coming that it doesn't matter if it's curing cancer, the thing's still going to dump. Again, these market resets are about getting back to basics, the absolute core positions only. Speaking of core, I do think Telegram, look at this. This is just an abnormal chart. Everything else is dumping like insanity, and it's just not. So I don't know what's going on here, but if this thing does take a dive down here, hopefully you get it, you know, I don't know if it's going to dive below this. Yeah, about a little under $5. It's such a hard thing because that was the prior peak of the last cycle. But if it gets close to this peak of the last cycle and, you know, under $5, I think that Telegram becomes a screaming buy. Again, it is really entering that blue chip category. As you guys know, I love me some Akash. This is one of my longest term AI holds. Again, this double top here is nasty, but it's coming down into a value range. I do think it eclipses its prior highs from the last cycle and does multiples of that eventually once this run gets started. Now for the memes, of course, I've been very conservative with the memes I've talked about here on the channel. I've only talked really about Bonk, Pepe, Whiff, Mog, and a very few others, but I do believe that that category is pretty good. I mean, these memes bounce really hard, specifically Pepe, Mog, and Whiff. Those are sort of the three that I would just kind of stick to if you want to be part of the meme thing. You have the upside of the memes, but you also know that these things are not just going to evaporate into dust, or at least we hope they don't. Again, any meme can, because any meme is controlled by a small group of anonymous, unknown actors. But the reality is the market wants memes this cycle. It's still the hottest thing to trade. And so whenever this thing bounces, I'm expecting Pepe, Mog, and Whiff to have major bounces with that market. Of course, there will be other memes. That is true. But again, these are the only ones I'm talking to you about, because I think if you want to do the meme thing, but you don't want to literally just gamble, then you need to have some filters. For example, Billy is a new meme coin on Solana. I don't own any. It's the first meme to go to 100 mil market cap since Michi 2 months ago. Now listen up, this is an insane stat. Since Michi cracked 100 mil in late April, there have been 34 million meme coins created. 34 million memes since late April created, okay? So that means that you have a 1 in 34 million chance of catching a winner from a very early stage. So when we say that meme coins are like lotto tickets, they are literally lotto tickets. I'm sure some lotteries actually have better odds than 1 in 34 million. That's actually insanely small. So when I looked at memes and I looked at, hey, look, here's proven communities that are big, they've stood the test of time. I only bought into Mog after it had been ranging beautifully for like 6+ months, and it seemed like that thing had some long-term community support. Until I see that, I don't really feel comfortable buying into anything. And that's why with this insane new supply of meme coins, I think you got to go to the more established ones. I don't like to use the term blue chip memes because I don't think we know what a blue chip meme is besides maybe Dogecoin, but that's how I'm going to play it. That's my meme outlook, is that the older coins will continue to get the meme love, but the new coins will probably die off. I think it benefits things like Pepe, Mog, Whiff. It benefits the more established memes, this new saturation of new coins, because it'll make it so that betting on these new coins is far less popular, whereas betting on the old ones is kind of the way that people will get their meme pumpy action going. This is the most gambling centric sector, so I have the least confidence in these. But again, I'm still holding all my Pepe, still holding all my Mog. I've only added to those positions over time. Now, finally, if you love America and you love freedom, you should love the fact that you have the freedom to protect your identity and your IP online with NordVPN, the sponsor of this channel. Shout out to NordVPN. As you can see, I always have my NordVPN running here at the bottom of the screen. Literally, I use this product all the time. I highly encourage you, if you don't have one yet, sign up with NordVPN. But if you're watching this video, you've probably already seen my rant about NordVPN and the importance of VPNs. And you already know that if you don't have a VPN, you are screwing up majorly, majorly, majorly. It's only a couple of dollars a month, money back guarantee. So the biggest risk is not even trying or having one on. I would run it 24/7, protect yourself at all costs. As always, shout out to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. If you enjoyed this content, you know what to do, smash up those likes, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.